All right, guys, we are ready. We've looked at our block of the month items, got it all together. I've separated my pattern pieces, and now I'm going to start cutting all of these out. Along the way, as I cut them out, I'm going to put them into two separate piles for block 1 and block 2. And that way I can build them out that way and put the fabric on them. Again, since this is not a huge kit, I don't keep it organized. I just have the fabric laid out in sections, whether that being the large, the scrap, the fragments. So it's pretty easy to find. I'm going to go ahead and cut these out. And I can't wait to hear some of the tips and the tricks that you have learned along the way. Now remember, when you cut these out, you can use your rotary cutter and a regular ruler. Please do not use your addicutter because it will move and you could cut yourself or you could cut your pattern. Your pattern, we can get you another one. Your finger, that's going to take a minute. It's going to affect your sewing. We don't want to do that. Another way is your paper scissors. So however you find it quickest, I will see you back with these cut up sections. All right, guys, we now have our blocks cut up, and I have block 1B ready to start sewing. So what I'm going to do is just start getting our colors together. So we're going to start with block 1, which is the IA. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of glue on here. This is how I like to get my blocks to stay. I do use a little extra. It's all right. Now again, as a reminder, I like to take my block and line it up along, so I already have my 1/4 of an inch pressed in for my first cut. Go ahead and shake this. This one is going to be exact cut, guys, because I don't need to make sure that I have extra left over because there's no edge. This one right here, we can make this cut a little bit bigger. I just kind of take it, fold it in. You can make it exact, kind of like this with our 1/4 inch seam allowance, or you can cut it, you know, extra. We have quite a bit extra. If you recall what we had extra last month, we were not in any danger of not having enough fabric. So as you can see, I have my 1/4 of an inch all the way around. Okay, we're going to move to our next block, which is the DQ, or our next color, sorry, for our next piece. Now here, we are going to take seam 1, piece 1, and sew in piece 2. So I'm going to fold it over. You can audition your blocks to make sure they're going to fit, such as this. If I were to put it right here and then fold it, it's the mirror image. This is how it's going to look. Very similar to this right here. Okay. Now we have our cut guides. We're going to be marking those off, showing that we've completed that section. And also, if you're uncertain, you can make sure this layout is proper for the cut guide, or you can just kind of fit it in here. It actually fits right here too, and that's a pretty good cut. You just want to make sure the ends match up. Okay. All right, guys, so we have already put on our first piece, which is number 1 with the glue, and then I've tried to line up our second piece, being DQ. I think I'm going to put mine at the very bottom here. When it folds over, you can see it has the perfect area that it needs to match. You can't really see it in there. It has the perfect area that it needs to match straight across. So we're going to go ahead and sew that together. Because these are small pieces of material, I really am not going to put them together with binding clips or needles. I'm just going to pull them over to my sewing machine, unfold it, make sure that my edge is always straight together, that I have that 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to go ahead and sew it. Remember, you're going to always meet 1 to 2, and that'll be the sew line in between. We're going to make sure we stay straight at the beginning of our sew line and at the very end of our sew line. So this would be our beginning, this is our end, because we want these tips to match up perfectly. That's what gives Legit Kit just the edge on making those foundation paper piecing just so specific on pieces. I'm going to take this over to my iron it a little, and get it set. Someone moved my iron, guys. It's fine, just not hot now. It's just going to take a quick second. We're back in action. I don't know about you guys, but when I sew, I like to have my little heater. I think my house is usually really cold. My husband likes to keep it cold, and I keep snacks around. And it hasn't really been a bad day, but I love me some Alanis so much. I'm on my second Alani. No judging, ladies, no judging. I went ahead and got me some coffee because I was kind of hungry and I haven't had dinner yet. So we're going to get there. Drop me a line. Let me know. Is there anything you do specific when you're sewing? Sometimes I sew late at night, and it just works really well for me. Okay, so you can tell we've got our piece ironed on. This already has our seam allowance added, so I can go ahead and cut it. Let's go a little bit further over. I'm going to take my add a 1/4. I am cutting these pieces to the exact, which I know in month 1 I did not. I cut way extra. But we also did pieces. We cut all of our fabric first, and this time, if you didn't see that video, I cut all of our fabric first and went back and sewed it together. This one I'm doing different, and we are going to cut our fabric and sew it as we go. So every piece will be complete before we move to the next one. Now I'll tell you, this way takes a little extra time. When you have a big pattern, I don't advise it. But it is definitely, as I say, do what makes you comfortable. Okay, now we're going to move to our next piece, which is 3, the DZ. I'm going to put him solely on the bottom here. Wow, he comes out way over here. I know we're not really supposed to worry about how much fabric we cut and waste, but I just tend to, sometimes I don't care and I just cut away. And then there's other times I care extra and take extra precautions. Maybe it's just how I'm feeling that day. I'm not really sure. Turn on my light a little bit better. So remember, when we're sewing, we want to make sure we are on that point on the line, and then just sew straight away. Go ahead and pull that over. You don't want to pull it too tight. As you can see the little bit of thread when you do pull it too tight, but remember, this is why we do the 1/8 of an inch stitch length. So we're going to take it over here and just kind of slightly hit it with an iron. You don't ever want to pull on your fabric. You just want to kind of iron a little without pressing too firm. You go ahead and cut this piece off first. As you can see, we've got our seam allowance all the way down. When you see some thread like this, remember that's on your line. It's okay to just go ahead and kind of work that out if you want, to where you pull the paper through already, or you could leave it there. It would be within the 1/4 seam allowance. Okay. Block 4, piece 4 will be way over here in the corner. So it really doesn't matter if you want to go ahead and do IA or this one first in the order, only because they don't overlap each other and they're not going to affect anything. Now you couldn't do 2 or 3 before you did 5. You couldn't do 1 before you do 4, because it's how these are going to overlay each other and how it's going to meet the seams of our next piece. So you never want to overstep that one, okay? So 3, probably why they kept it as 4, is because it's the same color. Ooh, guys, this is where I say sometimes I like to move my fabric around like little puzzle pieces. Look, that might fit really great right in that seam. It's actually overlapping just a little much. How we could orchestrate that is try right here. See if you can get that 1/4 seam in, and I can, and stay within my allowance here. Now that is risky because you've got to be exactly on point, and you have to make sure your fabric does not move, or you've just costed yourself some time. I sometimes risk it. Also, my 1/4 inch here is a little extra big. You can kind of see that. So I don't actually need that much fabric. And so I could actually cut a little bit of that off. I know I'm going to waste that bit to get this little bit lined up. Kind of a silly thing, isn't it? But maybe it's like a little bit of a dare for me, or just to see how close I can get them sometimes. And believe me, when you're working a big kit that has little pieces and you're risky, it does not always work out. Whew, those are some frustrating moments. And then you start that second guessing, like, why did you even do that? So be ready. All right, as you can tell, my seam allowance is in. When I fold it over, I have that seam allowance perfect. Go ahead and iron it. Ooh, look at that, ladies. Let's go ahead and cut him out of here. Even though I saved that much, I'm going to go ahead and cut it off because I don't want it hanging off my extra fabric there. Let's see where my trash went. My little, guys, I lost my trash container. Here it is. Just kidding, right there. Okay, then number 5, the IA. Flip this piece around a little. See where I can get him set in. So I have another one of these little pieces over here. But this time, this seems to be a little extra. So it's really not going to fit very well. I'm going to save that trick for another day and be happy I made it through once already. Now that could be an option. As in down here may not be, because see how far the line is out? therefore this piece would not fit here because I need to go from this line to this line, beginning to end. So I'm going to go ahead and flip my fabric over. And I'm just going to do it in the corner right up here. I'm going to sew it in. Now remember, this fabric, fantastic. It does not have a front or a back, and we really don't care about the grain. Okay, so I'm going to sew that piece on right there. Now, as I brought it over, remember this is where you always need to check, because look right here, I don't know if you can tell, it moved. So I need to move my fabric back where it belongs, making sure that I'm at the end of my seam allowance and the line at the top and the bottom. Okay, that'll keep this part from moving and being off in general. Let's see how this works. Okay, now we're going to go over here and just touch it just a little bit with the iron. Picking up extra fabric, not usually a good thing. I come back and I am going to cut this one out. Looking pretty good here. And guess what? We have our first piece complete. Pattern side, mirror side. Look at that little wrinkle. It's not really a wrinkle, it's just, need to cut that off a little bit. Okay. Moving on to the next block. This one we're going to start with WK. This is a periwinkle. Let me go ahead and get my glue stick together. Periwinkle does not look like it's going to fit this way, but it sure does. It also fits this way. We're going to go ahead and put him this way, I think. Yeah. All right, I'm going to put a little bit of glue. I say a little bit as I drowned it. I put a lot of glue. And as you can see, it comes off clear, but in the stick, it is purple. Don't let that concern you. Works just as good. I'm going to go ahead and take up my entire 1/4 of an inch because I don't feel like cutting that off. I have a 1/4 of an inch here. Go ahead and cut him. This side, I need my 1/4 of an inch ruler though. I'm going to make my little crease in here, right up against the line that we're going to sew on. Turn my 1/4 of an inch block over. Go ahead and cut that as well. Number 2, FT. And turn off that heat because listen guys, it's getting a little warm. I had to go change my top a while ago. I had a long sleeve sweater vest. My grandson was here helping me. I thought he was going to sew for you guys, but I'll tell you what happened. I'm upstairs. It's where the sewing room is. And next door, upstairs, is the theater. And you can't really hear it very well, but my husband turned on like a game, a video game. I'm gonna tell you what, that little 10-year-old grandson of mine made some good videos and he scattered on out of here. He didn't even sew anything, but he did some great videos. I'm gonna post those soon. So cute. Don't look forward to the day that he grows up. Oh, it's gonna be just devastating for me. Hopefully he always comes back and sews. There's a lot of men out there that sew, and they do some fantastic work. It's always something good to have in your back pocket. All right, so we're going to sew 1 to 2. Go ahead and iron that out. This one does not have a 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to go with 3. DE, where are you? It's the one thing about following your fabric. You don't have to look for it. This project certainly does not demand a big organizational situation, which is really great. If you see behind me, I don't know if you can tell, Rock and Glow, and another one right there that it's a tester kit, so I can't really talk about that one probably. I got a lot of projects going, ladies, but I like to move around. I like to start one, move to another one, come back to it. All right, this one already has my 1/4 of an inch seam, so I can just cut on around. For SF. I love that these labels, you can just pull them right off and stick them right back on. They just continuously stay sticky. Such a bonus. You can tell this one has an extra piece on the end, number 5. We're going to go ahead and let him lay there for a minute, but we're not going to include him in this cut. Sometimes I might include him, just being lazy, and cut that seam off in a few minutes. Because here's the deal, you're going to have to cut seam anyway, so you would have in one section cut off that extra plus your seam when you do this one. But ladies, I'm just being a little bit exact tonight for the moment. That's my mood for the moment. And you know, I realize that I say ladies a lot, but there are some fantastic men sewers. I have one in my group, Devin. He's a young gentleman. He's a fantastic sewer. I think it's great that men sew and make things. And they can do a really great job, just as well as the women. And I just think it's really fun. So I never want to exclude them from our conversation as well. Okay, one more piece, DE. Look what I have right here. Let me iron that little scraggly piece down. Oh, look, I said one more piece. What am I doing? LO is on there, so that was our last piece. Look, I was just working backwards. Okay, another piece completely done. Put him over here with the other one. IA. Here I go again. He's got a point on here. I cannot get him fit in there properly though, so we're gonna abandon that idea. Alrighty, just act like it didn't even happen. But here, maybe, looky there. Oh yeah, that's where he's gonna go. It's like he was built for him. That little home, that little nook was built for him. Remember, I already have kind of my 1/4 there, but up toward the top I don't. So we'll just have to cut just a tad there. Now we've got number 1. YE. Remember making sure our fabric did not move when I placed it over here at the ironing board. Making sure the top and the bottom are in line, giving that 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Go ahead and fold him over and iron him out. If you're ever uncertain, remember you can fold it over. You can kind of see it. If you don't have a light box, you can put it up to a window, or you can also put it up to a light. Before you cut, we all know once you cut, that's kind of final. The seam ripper, he can always help you out on any other errors before you cut. Just want to help him out so he's laying a little bit more flat. Okay, it looks like now we have all of our fabric on our blocks. Block 1, ready to sew together. Block 2, ready to sew. So I want to ask you, how much fabric do you have left? I have quite a bit, just like last time, just like last month. And these are some pretty big pieces. These are my scraps. Still quite a few scraps, big scraps left in there. So I'm going to add those to our other pile. And here's my fragments. I have quite a few fragments left as well. So I'm going to save those and put them in the bag that I have. I saved last month all of our extra. So I'm going to add all of that into this bag. At the end of our project, we'll see what we have. Got quite a bit of fabric going on now left over just from block 1 and block 2, or month 1, month 2 of each. Okay, so some of the things we're going to brush up on, and I want to talk to you all about. Last month, I believe we used some binding clips and needles putting things together. This month, I'm just going to use binding clips. So what we need to do now is find our guide right here, our assembly guide. Okay, separate all of that. And we're going to start with block 1. So if you don't mind, pull your fabric guide out, because when I move mine and get ready to start piecing, you won't be able to see my guide. Okay, and we are going to start with block 1. When I say my little binding clips, these are the ones we're going to use. They're just little, perfect little guys. Our first two pieces that we are going to start with is B and C. B and C. Let's see where exactly those are co-located. Here and here. Oh, just kind of like I have it right now. That was sure by accident, guys. And so one thing I want to show you is if you turn your block over, you put your binding clip on the edge here. Just put it right on the edge where you can kind of see. Let me see if my light's on this thing. There we go. All right, so you can put the clip, binding edge clip right on the edge. Turn it over and see if it's on the edge of this one. Last month, if you recall, we used a needle. We pushed a needle through. That works the same, but I want to show you guys this option. So you can tell that they're not lined up properly. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to push that down until the edge of my binding clip is perfectly on this edge and shows up perfectly on this edge, which I just moved it. So let me go back, fix it up. What's interesting enough is these binding clips are also the perfect 1/4 seam. Love it. So I go over here and I just kind of tap my other end, and as you can tell, my lines here pretty lining up pretty good. Let's see if our binding clip does the same. We're just a tad bit off, so I'm going to push him down. And you're probably wondering, how does that happen? Well, easy, because we have all of this drama in the middle. So we want to make sure that our ends match up and then our middles will also match up pretty great. Now remember, this piece right here, we could put a needle through. It should come out on this one. But my binding clips also have these little circles on them. So if you put like that line in between the middle circle, you can see on this side, is it in between the middle circle here and here? And that answers yes. So perfect alignment. Let's go ahead and put another one in here. So the reason I like this, to me, when you're going along and you're building, this is an easier process. It's quicker. Sometimes when I put pins in, I move my fabric. The paper also moves it for you. Then next thing you know, I'm off, and you're like, how am I off? I have my needles in. Sometimes that's a part of the problem too, that I find for myself. So when we're going to take our paper, another way to ensure that we have got it lined up perfectly, push down your seams here, okay? Does your seam allowance, these lines, match up? They sure do. What about on this end? They sure do. So that is ready to sew. When I go over to my sewing machine, I usually move the first one, holding it steady, and just start sewing. Just removing one at a time as you get closer to the binding clip. This helps keep all of the fabric in place. You can tell our lines here are sewn on, just the same as here. So let's open it up, press out that seam. I'm going to pull off my seam already and see if it lines up perfectly. And I'm showing it does, so that is rather great. When I open it up, look at that point. Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and sew open my seam. If you want, you can go ahead and pull off the seam allowance in the middle. It just kind of helps with the bulk if you want to do it now versus later. And this is what I mean, part of my seam, my paper, you can pull it off if you want it. It's not going to do anything at this point. All right, so now we're going to move to our second session. So B, C to D. Let's see if we can find D. And where is D on here? D is going to be, looks like this right here. B, C, D. Perfect. Just going to do this again. Line up my ends with my binder clips. Get these lines looking perfect here on the end. Help for successful quilt making. Perfect. Go ahead and do this side. This one appears just a tad bit over. It could be how I'm holding the paper, pulling it too tight in the middle. Make sure that one stayed just as is. One thing about it, I like to put my binding clips so the flat side is on the back where it's going to sew through, and it works out much better for me. And as you can tell, my binding clips, I'm putting too many in, but they're all lining up on that perfect 1/4 seam. When I hold it this way, it kind of looks different, but when I hold it closer, you can kind of tell it's not really different. It's on that line, but this one looks like it's over, and I think it's the way I'm holding it. Maybe if I turn it this way, you can kind of see it is on the line. Okay, let's go ahead and sew this guy together and see what we get. Sometimes you want to put a little bit of pressure down here to make it pull the paper through so you don't get it bunching up. See what we got here. All right, another great alignment. Go ahead and iron him out. We are going to move to our third phase, which is going to be, or our second, I guess it is. This one we're not going to attach anymore. We're going to move to E and F. So let's find E. Oh, I skipped ahead. Hold on, guys. I skipped over here. We're actually going to go to, I was right, but A, B, C, D, E, okay? Let's see where the E goes on the edge right here, okay? It's so important to follow the directions to get the alignment properly. I'm going to go ahead and starch this one a little bit. As you can see, it's kind of popping up, and I don't like it when it does that. perfect. Go ahead and get him back in alignment. So earlier when I said we were going to cut these perfect, I can tell you this one, he is sticking over a little, and it will, you can kind of see on the back how he doesn't really line up with the paper, but I can see through it enough to make my lines touch that product on the back, and that helps it line up. That's what those lines are for. This line over here kind of makes a dog ear. Okay, let's see if we're anywhere close to. Pretty close. Go ahead and push it down a tad. Let's go down here. Same process. It's an easy process, isn't it? When you get used to it, you're moving a little faster, and I usually move a little faster than this. I can do this process way faster, like I said, than the needles. Now look at that one, how it needs to be moved upward. I've got a little bit of excess holding out there, but it'll be okay, but it will confuse you when you're sewing, which is, sometimes I said if you're used to it, great. If not, cut off that excessive stuff, okay? Just so you have a better alignment and you can see all the way through, are you aligning? If you look at the back, it looks like I'm way off, which would mean a huge problem, but we just have too much fabric right there. Okay, I'm pretty sure that one lined up pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and sew him together. That one's got a thick seam. Did you hear my sewing machine? All right, let's examine what we have here. Run the line. I'm going to open it up. We did not open it up prior to see if the lines here matched up properly, and they do. Just a tad inch over, so we might see that on our seam lines, but it looks pretty good to me. Go ahead and iron that out. You guys, last night I was up here working a little bit and I left my iron on. So my big irons, they turn themselves off, but this little one does not. Probably need to look and see if the new versions, I've had that one for, I don't know, a couple years, maybe more than I think, see if they turn themselves off. Normally what I do is I have a little good vibes sign over here, and when I turn on my iron with the remote, it turns on my sign to let me know that something is still on in the room, so they're connected. So when I turn off, my neon sign also turns off. I didn't do that yesterday. Just check and balance, because sometimes I find myself up late in my sewing room, late at night. And you know, when you get tired, you start making little errors here and there, more than just ripping out seams. And so that is my reminder. Perfect. We're on our last piece, which was putting the section A to the rest of the things, okay? And it's going to the very top. Did you guys have any tricky issues with any of the blocks while you were sewing? I found this one to really not have any tricks or issues that I ran into, but if you do, you can always send me a message and we can work through those. There's also many other CIs that'll help you as well. And you post on the Legit website for any questions you might have. Someone will be able to get back with you a lot quicker because there's multiple people. We're on different times, so that's always helpful. All right, look at that. They're all lining up just beautifully, just as expected. Oh, and of course my needle wants to come out. You know, everybody talks about doing math, public math. I think there's a thing about needles and putting your threading your needle in your sewing machine publicly. You know how when you're at a retreat, your machine wants to do something dumb that you've never seen it do before. Same way with your needle always coming out. It just wants you to try and get it in there without any issue. Okay, I think I'm going to turn off my end because it is not going in. I think it's coming frazzled just a tad. Okay, let's go ahead. Sew this one as planned. I always say, what are you watching when you're sewing? Do you find yourself watching your needle? Do you find yourself watching the line? What are you looking at this point? You know, I always say, hey, it's kind of true. The needle knows where it's going. It just needs you to guide the fabric. So the best thing to do is not watch the needle. Watch that your fabric line is perfectly in the middle here and going in, because that needle, he knows what his job is. He knows what he's doing. Look at that. Perfect. Exactly what I would expect from these Legit Kit patterns. They never cease to fail. They are perfect. They make us look pretty good too. Okay, now that we have our first block done, we can move on to the next one. I like to look at mine, make sure I like the way everything looks. Sometimes I'll take it and I'll iron it just one more time over the top. Probably even starch a little bit. Just to make sure we're getting a good, solid pattern piece to go together. Okay, we're going to set him aside and move to block 2. So I'll have my cut guide. This one's a little bit more in depth. We've got a few more pieces, okay? I have all my blocks cut fairly perfect, and we will just sew them together and move right on. We're going to start with B and C. Go ahead and lay these out so I see the numbers on the patterns. There we go. Okay, so B and C, let's see how they go. It looks like B is on top and C is going to go down below, just like that. Looks pretty perfect. Let's get him together. Looks good, looks good. I need to move my table so you guys, I don't use it way over here. Make it where I just use the part you guys can see. I like to hold it close to my eyes, my body, so I can see it better, but that does not help the viewer out at all. Remember, we're going to be watching the line in the middle and help guide that needle so it does its job perfectly, lining it in the middle. Look at that. Look at that. Perfect. Perfect points, guys. Thanks, Legit. Ooh, look how far that is down. Get in there. Totally get in there. Perfect. Remember, we can always check our progress by checking the lines. Push those seams down to where they're perfectly in line. Check out those seams. I don't know if you can tell, but it looks, I know it's a little bit of funkiness looking right there, but they are matching up perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and move it over here. Not getting distracted by watching the needle. I'm going to watch my line right through the middle. Make sure he just keeps doing what he's supposed to be doing. Perfect. When we open this, guys, it's looking pretty good. Okay. I'm going to cut this part just a little bit, and we're going to edit and cut this part out. But I am just going to leave it running, and I'll tell you when we're going to redo it, because I do not like the way this one's set. Okay guys, so when we look at our other one and it matches that pretty perfect, go ahead and iron him out. Sometimes I just let my iron sit on it, press it down a little bit. I keep it on high. I don't know if you guys have one of these, but I always accidentally turn mine down, so I had to put a piece of tape on it. I know, looks kind of crazy, but it works. It works. Remember, we would want to use our acorn pin, which my grandson has. He's moved on me. He was over here earlier making some videos, doing a little bit of sewing, and it may be on the floor. No? Sure enough. Well, I shall find it if I need it. In the meantime, I can use anything else like my spray. My flattener is probably what I will use to flatten out any of these seams that I see needed flattened. Okay, so we're going to move on to step 3. I'm sorry, it would be step 2, I guess. No, it'll be step 3. So we're going to step 3, but see how it's the numbers underneath it. So I was looking at this one. We're actually going to be on putting those together. Let's see if we have them. Here's E. To F. Let's see exactly where those are located on our project here. E and then F. So E with F. Got some little scragglers. I didn't cut this one off perfect. Could probably do that real fast, but I think I'll just leave as is alone. Because it will not affect the seam as I'm watching the seams down here, not what's in the middle. As long as these lines match up, then we are in business. Go ahead and push those down if you want. Let's see if that line matches up. Man, it does pretty good. As well as this seam allowance line. Looks like it's ready. I didn't put three binding clips in this one because I didn't really think it's needed. This is where you don't want to get messed up when you have the extra on top. Just remember to sew on that seam line. That's just extra junk right there. Perfect. And take it over here, iron it out. And we're going to add that piece that we just created to this piece, and it looks like it may go right here. See, C, B, D, E, F. So it's going to go on right on the edge there. Oh, I got him way too far over. You know why? It's because I have this excess fabric on here. Remember when I said I was going to cut it perfect? Apparently, I lowered my standards a little bit. Let's open this up and see if our seams are matching. Looks like that one might be over just a little, whereas in this one is perfect. The reason is we have all these thick seams, sometimes that causes issues. So let's open it up and see what we have. It looks like sewing right there. We're going to have some pretty perfect seams. So I don't see there being any issue. Okay. Looks like I got a lot of seam there, but truthfully I just have a lot of extra hanging over the edge of my seam, making it appear that my paper is not lined up. So that's one of the things you have to worry or ignore if you're not doing your seams perfectly, okay? As you can see, my sewing is right on that seam allowance. Let's see if we make it look good. We did. Let's go ahead and iron that out. Okay, now we are going to move to our next phase, which is going to be G. G, as I can tell in here, is going to go right at the bottom. Look at that, a perfect piece. Look at all these little pieces, guys, coming together, looking fantastic. Perfect. This one has that little dog ear, so I'm just going to put it right on the edge there. I need to move this up. I'm going to go ahead and put another one in right there just because it's giving me a little bit of a hard time. I don't like a hard time. Not at all. Let's open this one up and see what we have. There are a ton of binding clips on here. Alright, so let's look over here. It does look like that is matching up perfect. This is the seam I'm talking about. We're going to make sure this line, if I were to stick a needle through there, it's going to come out perfectly on the other side of the seam allowance. That means you've got a great lineup. Go ahead and flip it over. Wow, look at those lineups, guys. Looking good, looking good. Let's go ahead and iron or sew him out. Okay, our ironing looks good. Let's open it up. Oh, beautiful. Look at these lines, guys. Just phenomenal. This block's getting a little thick with these seams because there's so many extra small pieces. More so than the other block. when you get this many pieces together, your blocks start acting crazy like this. So it takes just a little more time ironing it down, spraying starch on it, whatever you want to do to get it to be a little bit thicker, help it be a little bit more stiff. Makes the to me it makes the material thicker when we're putting stuff on it to make it lay out flat. Look at how pretty that is. Now we're going to set this one aside and do H and I. Let's see where they set. Okay, it looks like these two are going to go perfect together, right like this. Probably need to iron him out just a tad. He's sticking up like a bad hairdo, huh? I don't know if you guys can hear the wind outside, but today it is serious here in Oklahoma. We've gotten so much wind lately. That's the thing about leaving winter. You're ready for the summer, but you've got that in between, wind, rain. I like me some rainy days, but not when I have to leave the house, which is, you know, every day. Let's check this one's lines. I know I have a lot of, see how I just push those down? They magically tap that line down pretty perfect down there. Then we can sew away. Ooh, perfect. Can you guys see that? Move this little bitty. Oh yeah, look at that. You can see I just moved my light on my sewing machine because one of my favorite attachments or favorite thingamajigs, notions would be this fantastic Caterpillar light. You can see my light is on down here in my sewing machine, but I use this. It doesn't have to be plugged in, it's battery charged, and it like has different settings. So you can make it as bright as you want. So I use this. It has like a little attachment that just attaches wherever you want it to on your sewing machine or on the side. Honestly, I just leave mine plugged in. I snake it around to my sewing machine and then voila, done. All right, so we're going to move on from H and I. Let's see where I am here. To JK. So we're going to put him aside. We're going to get J and K. Let's see, K is in the very top, followed by J, which matches up perfectly right there. So this block is kind of a fun one. As you can see that we've put multiple pieces together, and now we're breaking apart and doing two different pieces. All together, of course, they're going to build that one. But I always think that's kind of super fun. Kind of gives you a little breakup. You're not messing with a bunch of pieces or a larger piece. And it looks like at this point, when we get this one sewn, we only have two more pieces, and then we can start, it'll have us start putting our multiple pieces together, and man, we're gonna have a block in no time. A perfect block, might I add. Ooh, look at that, not so perfect. Right as I'm saying how perfect. This is why you don't sow your oats and brag before it's too late. Because then that's, you know, I say before it's too late because that's when the errors start showing up. But I honestly don't take any credit for any of these sewing projects that I do because Legit Kit makes these so user-friendly. As long as you can sew, stay organized, you can do the biggest, hardest kit you want. Remember, hardest just means small pieces, more patience. I did not check the seam on this one or fold it over, and it's hard to tell because I can see I have a lot of excess material hanging off the other seam allowance, but I think that's what it is, just excess material hanging off. All right, good deal. We still lined up proper. Go ahead and get him sewn out. This piece is turning out also very pretty. Let's see where we are now. J and K, J2K, which we just did, HI to JK. So these are going to go together just like that. Now how do I know? Looking at my piece pattern here. We are on step 8. Again, I don't know who I was tricking when I said I was going to do these, cut them perfectly. It's okay. Like I said, sometimes I just don't even, like, it's all over the place. Way too much fabric, way too much everything. But it does not hurt, and we have plenty of effort to do it. I'm just usually trying to do it the fastest way to get it completed. Let's go ahead and push this block open. Ooh, that one wants to be a little bit tough. It looks like we have alignment. Let's go ahead and sew that together. Oh yes, pretty perfect. Our next step is going to be the A to the BK. So that will be the other block over here waiting. B through K. Oh, I may jump ahead again. We're going to put these together like this. Okay. I was jumping ahead a little bit. It's fine. It does throw me off how the numbers are underneath. Usually I do have a pencil and I mark off the ones that we've done when I'm working a big pattern. So that way I can stop and go and stop and go without any confusion. Come back to it when I'm ready. I'm going to go ahead and put this one on here since I have a lot of pieces. Let's see what we have. Usually, guys, when I'm in here by myself, oh, look, that looks a little off. Let's check this side. I am listening to my music, jamming out a little. So I wonder, what do you guys do in your sewing space? Hello. I listen to music. I also watch movies, podcasts. Tell me what your favorite time thing to do is while you're sewing. Or maybe you just sew. That's okay too. I feel like I gotta be doing like 500 things at one time. I know, a little ridiculous when you're working Legit Kit. Probably my downfall when I mess up a block anyway. I have managed to get through all the years of Wicked, so that's a bonus. I've unfortunately watched all of my crime junkie shows. Now they're just repeats, so I can't watch them again because, you know, that's lame for me. Oops, threw him right on the floor, you guys. Threw him right down. Look at, he's looking good. All right, so our second to last, A to B through K. That will be this piece, and A goes in the top corner. Let's go ahead and get him on line here. Oh yeah, that piece is not perfect either. Maybe it wasn't the block 2 I was doing different perfect, the block 1 was? I'm not really sure. I don't know what I was talking about. I definitely don't want that seam ironed open. Go ahead and close that puppy up just like this. Okay, let's see where our lines lay. Are they pretty correct? Yeah, I kind of feel they are. Let's go ahead and iron this one together, or sew this one together. See where that's lining up. Oh, yay! Looks really great. Sometimes when you're building these blocks and maybe something doesn't line up perfect, there very well could be a reason, because the pattern overall doesn't always connect perfectly. It has jags and edges for a reason, such as the kraken. His tentacles look like they're 3D effect. And listen, it was almost a heartburn to try and get that to line up for me one time. And I was like, what's going on here? And I was like, you know what? This one, I'm just going to have to trust the process, make sure my sewing is on point, make sure I'm lining up what I can or what it looks like it's supposed to, and go from there. But I'm going to tell you what, it was a moment for me. All right, we've got our last piece of block of the month 2. For the month 2, go ahead and scooch you over here. Let's see how this is lining up. Not good. Perfect. Let's see how this one does. He's got an edge going on over here. Not perfect. Push that paper back a tad. We are going to fold this one over and see why it does not have the same fluctuate. See how it's like in between. Looks like it's matching up there. Got a little bit of a situation there. Let's see if we can get it to work out. Looks like it doesn't wrinkle. I say press on. Sometimes it's just the way it's being silly, making it harder for us. Okay, let's go ahead and sew this one. And it's not being silly, it's just the angle that the paper is at in the fabric. To get it to line up, you kind of got to press a little different, as in like lining it up and finessing with the paper a little bit. Okay, see what we have. Perfection. Iron him out. You can see this one, when I iron open, it's going to actually enclose 2 other seams. I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to iron him flat. See this right here? If I were to iron this open, it's going to get rid of a little bit of bulk here. It's also adding 3 different locations of extra bulk. So I'm just going to leave them closed for now. And maybe for the whole time, but I can also change my mind when we get ready to move to the next part. All right, guys. Now we're showing B1 and B2 blocks complete. This is for your block of the month. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns. Thank you for following along, and I look forward to you in month 3.